Agnes's Unicorn from Despicable Me by Hot Pink Zebra Polish.
Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you Agnes's Unicorn from Despicable Me. I love the whole Despicable Me franchise. I have seen all of them, including the one that just came out. I went there opening weekend, it was pretty fantastic. Like I said though, love this whole thing. I have Minion shirts, I've made Minion cakes and paintings and cards and all kinds of things. Minions are fantastic. But I also love Despicable Me, and since I have done so many Minion themed nail art, and I will put links to all of them in the description box below, I wanted to do something Despicable Me that was not Minions. So I decided to go with Agnes's Unicorn because, let's face it, it's so fluffy! I hope you guys love this as much as I do and enjoy this whole thing as much as I did because, let's face it, Despicable Me is fantastic. And don't forget to share recreations with me on Facebook and Instagram. I would love to see them, and also don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
So I'm going to start with a glittery pink background that is, it's not as dark as her unicorn's mane and hooves and things, so those are still going to show up, but I did definitely need there to be glitter in the background. That was necessary, and my pink glitter has a little bit of a gold hint to it, which ties into her unicorn's horn, so that all kind of goes together. So I'm just going to make sure that there's a nice covering of glitter on there, and then after that's on, I'm going to be encasing the nail with a layer of clear acrylic. This is super duper important, especially since there is going to be some filing, and you don't want to file glitter because if you file glitter, sometimes it gets a little funny looking. I'm pretty sure with that particular glitter acrylic, I would have been fine, but you know, better to be safe than sorry, plus it adds strength. So then I'm going to be filing the nail, and I'm going to start with a 180 grit file to remove any bulk, any big areas. It was pretty good, so it didn't take too much, and then I'm going to be refining it a little further with a 240 grit padded buffer just to remove any scratches and make sure that that surface is nice and smooth. So now with some white acrylic, I am going to be sculpting out her unicorn, and I'm going to begin with a nice large oval for his body, or her body. I'm going to go with her body. I don't know, is it a he or a she? It's always it, I don't know. Her body. Get off on little sidetracks. So then I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and ovular, and it's got, you know, it's kind of at an angle so that I can fit all the wording around it. So then I'm going to be adding her head, and I'm going to just do that. It's kind of pear-shaped, I suppose you could say, and you want the point of the pear to be up towards the top, and then just connect with a little bit of a neck between the head and the body. So then with more of that white acrylic, I'm going to be sculpting out her legs, and you can only see 3 of them because one of them is behind her head, and they're short little stubby legs that just connect to her body pretty simply like that. So there are the first 2, and then the other one is on the other side, just like that, kind of behind her body, just a hint. And now I'm going to take and I'm going to be switching off to my smaller brush, and I'm going to be adding her ears. So there's the first ear just kind of sticking straight out to the side, and then I'm going to be adding her eyes, and these are once again kind of out to the side a little bit and really circular and spherical and kind of sticking up. So there's the 2 eyes that are off to the side of her head, and then just that little bit of the other ear that is peeking out from behind her head on the other side. There's not too much that you can see there. So then with that darker shade of pink, I'm going to be adding her mane to begin with, and I'm just going to lay down that bead of acrylic and then just sort of pull it into the right kind of shape, and then using the side of my brush, kind of jab at it a little bit to give it that texture, with the little fur texture, and then add a touch of that pink color inside the ears. It doesn't take very much, really just a hint. And then I'm going to be adding her hooves. So there's the first one on the end of that top leg, or that first front leg arm, and then add the other 2 hooves. And these are with relatively small beads of acrylic. And when you're doing something like this and you want all of the hooves to be the same size, to make sure they are the same size, you can remove a little bit of acrylic like I did with that one, or just really pay attention to how much monomer you're getting and how long you are pulling the polymer, just so that you don't get too much in your hooves. They're all about the same size. And then with some really metallic gold acrylic, I'm going to be adding the horn. So I'm going to do that, and it's going to overlap the mane, which is why you had to do the mane first. And then with a slightly brighter shade of pink paint, I'm going to be highlighting her hooves and also highlighting her mane just a little bit, just adding a couple lines like that just to really intensify that fur texture. And then adding the stripe that goes across her nose. That kind of separates her nose from the rest of her face. And then with slightly diluted black paint, I'm going to start doing all of my outlining. So I really just want to quickly mention that the brush that I'm using right here is one that I just cut, and I have a video on me cutting this brush. So if you're interested in watching that, I'll put a link to that in the description box below. I just want to mention that if you watch the brush cutting video, this is the brush in action if you wanted to see how it goes. So then also with the black paint, you need to add her pupils and then her nostrils. And her nostrils are this little kind of square, circular thing, like a square that keeps going in farther. around and around. And then with white paint, I'm going to be highlighting her eyes, and I decided that it was easier to highlight her eyes without the pupils, so I just painted over them, and I'll add those back in just a moment. And then add a little bit of like a furry highlight texture all over her body and her legs. Not too much, just like a couple little lines here and there. And then re-add in her pupils now that that white paint has dried. So now going back to white paint, I'm going to be writing "It's So" above her. So just kind of off to the side. So there's the "it's," or the "it," now it's. Just with white paint, really nice and big and easy to read and block letters. And then below that, I'm going to be writing "so." And the "so" kind of gets stuck behind her just a little bit, but that's all right. And then underneath her, I'm going to be writing "Fluffy." So I really made sure when I was sculpting her that I left enough room to add all of these letters, because I knew I wanted to say "It's so fluffy," because it's just so perfect, and I had to say that. That was a necessary part of this design for me. So now I'm going to be finishing off Fluffy, and as you could see, I started with this first F, or I guess it's the second F, so that I made sure that everything was centered. And now that I have that done, I'm going to take some black paint, and I'm just going to be doing a little bit of an outline around each of the letters just to make sure that they show up well enough, and they got a little bit of the shadow underneath them and around them. So just a little bit, just like that, just to make sure that, like I said, the letters are visible against that glitter background. Sometimes things like that can kind of get lost, even though you can see it really well. It's just anything to make your nail art easier to recognize and easier to read. It's always good. So adding those black lines is a small thing, but it makes a big difference. So then I'm going to be applying a layer of gel sealer over the background, really making that glitter shine. It's so gorgeous, especially, you know, it all kind of ties together. Glitter, fluffy, it's perfect. After that's cured, apply matte top coat over the unicorn, and you are all done. I am in love with this. This is just so perfect, and it's definitely going to be displayed with my minion nails once I get my display set up, which is on my to-do list, constantly on my to-do list, and I will get that done. So I hope you guys like this as much as I do, and please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I would really love to see them, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.